So you've decided to start your business, you have a name for your brand, a logo, but no clear brand identity guidelines. So today, my friend, I have a little present
just for you.
Hello, I'm your host Kaycinho. I'm a digital alchemist, and this episode is episode number 5 of a module dedicated to the creation phase of starting your business. So if you haven't seen the first 4 videos, I invite you to check the playlist in the description of this video. And by the way, this module is the third module of a course dedicated to take you from the burning desire to become your own boss to actually launching your business. So you will also find a link to the full course playlist in the description. Brand Guidelines Template, Branding Like a Boss. Creating a brand and visual identity is often overlooked as many businesses think that a visual identity is just a logo. So let me share with you what helped me along the way. And for those of you that will watch the full video, I have a little present for you that may just help you craft a solid visual identity and brand for the years to come and give you the edge over your uneducated competition. Now, crafting a visual identity is a crucial step in establishing your brand. And just like for crafting a logo, there are 2 approaches to this. Approach number 1, do it yourself. If you want to do it yourself, and obviously if you're in the graphic or web design industry, that shouldn't be an issue, but there are also people not in the industry that are good at this. So if you're up for the task, you probably don't need to watch this video, although you may learn a tip or 2. Approach number 2, use a simple yet effective template. Now, before we move on, if you and design are a bit like dogs and cats, you may want to outsource this part, but even if that's the case, I still encourage you to follow along because this way you'll know the process involved and you'll be able to create a better brief for the creative professional that will work on your brand guidelines template. So all in all, you'll end up with a faster and cheaper process. The template that we show you today is not the most comprehensive and complete branding guide out there, but sticking to my principles to get things done, it is simple, powerful, and you can get it done in a relative short amount of time. Now let's dive into it, but we'll only cover the outline since I've created the template for you, but watch out for additional episodes on the topic in the future and maybe even an upcoming course about branding and visual identity. So if you'd be interested in such a course, just let me know in the comments. The outline. So the best way to create a solid brand identity is to follow an outline that will lead you to create a brand guidelines template. That's what I do for my own brands as well for my clients. It's helped me tremendously and my clients love it. Now you may think that crafting such a guide is overkill, especially if you are a one-person operation type of company, but think about this. Let's say that you work with partners or you outsource digital advertising. Instead of constant back and forth about the visuals, the fonts, and the correct use of your logo, having a brand guidelines template that you can just send by email will save you a ton of time as well as a lot of unnecessary frustration. Tools you need. Now you can create this guide in pretty much any app like Photoshop, Illustrator, even Google Docs, Google Slides, the GIMP or whatever software that you prefer. But for a more streamlined workflow, I'd advise using a software that allows you to create multiple pages in one single document. Now personally, although I use Photoshop to render logo and perspective mockups, and by the way, you don't have to do that, but I just find that it brings the final output to another level, I did actually fall in love with Affinity Photo and Affinity Designer. Now these 2 apps are just so blazing fast, they're available on both Macs and Windows and they're like $50 each. No monthly payment, just a one-off. And these guys are getting it right. Now, don't expect a 100% Photoshop clone because there are some features that I miss from Photoshop, like the smart objects, for example. But other than that, these are some great pieces of software. And with both apps, you pretty much cover Photoshop and Illustrator and have the Affinity Publisher on the roadmap. Plus, you can also open PSDs and most Illustrator files. And by the way, this video is not sponsored by Affinity. I just use and love their products. And if you're interested in getting those apps, I've put affiliate links in the description of this video. Affiliate means that I do get a commission if you purchase one of these products after clicking on one of my links. But as mentioned, and for all the products and services that I recommend in this episode, and on my channel in general, I only recommend tools and services that I use and would recommend to my inner circle. And second, the commissions support me to keep on producing free content. Now, cherry on the cake, the good news is that if you have Affinity Designer or Affinity Photo, I'm offering you my own brand guidelines template so that you can craft your own brand guidelines in no time. To download the template, all you need to do is click on the link in the description and follow the instructions. Now, I could actually sell this brand guidelines template, but I'm offering it to you for free. And a tip for you, if you're one of my newsletter subscribers, you will also get other freebies from time to time that I only share and mention in the newsletter because I want to reward my subscribers with high value. So if you're not yet subscribed to my newsletter, just click on the link in the description and follow the steps on screen. Now, I've also created an editable PDF version of the guide so that you should be able to edit with Adobe Illustrator, but keep in mind that it was optimized for the Affinity software and not for Adobe Illustrator. And if you use Illustrator, unfortunately, you will have to edit one page at a time, then hit the save command once you've edited the page and repeat the process for the other pages. It will get the job done. But if you have Affinity Designer or Affinity Photo, you can just open the file and all the pages will be editable on screen. Now, with that out of the way, let's detail the brand guidelines template and how to edit it so that you can create your own in 10 steps. Step 1. Pages 1, 2, 5, and 13 of the brand guidelines template are placeholders for images that put your brand logo in contextual situations. Now, you may use photos, mockups, and so on. Whatever reinforces your brand in the mind of someone who would pick your visual identity guide and discovering your brand for the first time. Now, in my case, as mentioned earlier, this is one of the cases where I've used Photoshop because there's a ton of mockups, free and premium, that work with the Smart Object feature. But you can also find a few Affinity Designer and Affinity Photo resources. You just have to do more digging around. And basically, if you wonder what the Smart Object is, it's just a feature of Photoshop where you can have a perspective, for example, and you're just going to replace one file and then magically the perspective is going to reflect the file that you inserted in the Smart Object. So for example, it could be your logo on a tablet that's on a table. So you're just going to change one file and then your logo is going to be put into perspective and look really nice. You can also simply use the built-in perspective tools and create your own creations, or ask your graphic designer to create some for you if you're outsourcing. Now, I've also included a link to a whopping 2,000 free mockup templates, mainly PSD designs. Yes, you heard it right, 2,000 free resources courtesy of cssauthor.com. Now, these resources are PSDs for Photoshop, so all of those can be opened in Affinity software, but you just won't be able to use the Smart Object feature. Step 2. On page 4, write down the brand statement that you've created after video number 1 of the module dedicated to the creation phase of starting a business. And if you don't know what I'm talking about or haven't yet created your brand statement, I invite you to check the link in the description of this video. You can also expand the brand statement to other aspects that you find important. And remember, just use common sense and approach this exercise with the angle of someone who discovers your brand and picks up your brand guidelines template for the first time. That will help you communicate the essence of your brand. Step 3. On page 6, break down and clearly describe the core values of your brand by following this simple outline. Write down the keywords describing your brand's core values, maximum 4, then insist on how and when these core values should be implemented, and next describe the tone of voice of your brand. Step 4. On page 7, place your logo and break down its construction by clearly identifying the fonts used. That step is pretty simple. Step 5. On page 8, outline the variations of your logo, such as original, horizontal, vertical, and minimal versions, or whatever versions that matches the use of your logo. Also, you'll want to show how your logo looks on a white background versus a dark or color background. Step 6. On page 9, define the correct and incorrect uses of your logo. That will help your partners know what they may or may not do with your logo. Just imagine that you partner with a popular website in your industry for a joint campaign happening on their website. Now, they may have a cluttered looking website, and by clearly defining how your logo should be used, then we know that, for example, there should be a minimum of white space around your logo, or that they cannot change the aspect ratio of it. And trust me, I've seen that done way too many times. So having this clearly outlined in your visual identity guide helps to cut down unnecessary discussions and at the same time ensures your brand consistency when your brand is outside of your control. Step 7. On page 10, illustrate your primary and secondary colors. Now make sure you specify the CMYK, RGB and hexadecimal values for each individual colors. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, these are just values that accurately describe a specific color. A quick Google search will get you up to speed on that matter. Now, that will help you to use the correct colors without wasting time in different scenarios like crafting a printed panel or a banner for your Google and Facebook ads. Step 8. On page 11, define the fonts that will be used in contextual situations like on print, on the web, in titles, in paragraphs, and so on. Now, fonts are often overlooked when actually they are an essential part of a brand's visual identity and of good design in general. Now, I can't stress this enough. Take the time to research your fonts.
Let me repeat that again.
Take the time to research your fonts. Now, if you want to stand out from the crowd but only spend like 23 seconds looking for a font that everybody else uses,
What do you expect?
that's not going to happen. That's not going to work. Lately, I've worked on a project and spent a sheer 10 hours looking for 2 fonts. Now, why 10 hours? Well, to end up with these 2 fonts, I ended up testing 50 fonts in context, testing them in various scenarios until I found the harmony that makes for a unique visual identity. Now, where do you get fonts? Well, as always, there are free and premium resources. You will find all links in the description of this video and in the companion blog post, but for the free fonts, you can go to dafont.com, whereas for premium fonts, there are a lot of resources, but some of those are really expensive, so I found that a good compromise is to use one of my favorite services online, ENVATO Elements, which I've already talked about on this channel, and which is sometimes called the Netflix for creatives. Now, if you don't know what ENVATO Element is, I suggest you click on the link in the description and look at what they have to offer. For a few dollars a month, what you get at the time of recording this video is the following: about 800,000 digital assets and growing week after week. Get fonts, photos, videos, video templates, graphics, mockups, graphic templates, Photoshop and Lightroom add-ons, PowerPoint, Keynote, and Google Slide templates, web and CMS templates, and if you subscribe on a yearly basis, you can also get WordPress premium themes and plugins. You also get 3D objects and lately sound effect and music that you can use in your own projects, legally and commercially. Now, I personally use ENVATO Elements and it has changed the game for me
Big time.
It's a gain of time and a gain of money because that service is dirty cheap for what you get. And before you ask, no, this video is not sponsored by ENVATO. I just love their service and I really think that given the price, this is a very interesting service if you plan on doing things professionally. And as mentioned before, I only recommend stuff that I use and love, so I hope that you will enjoy your subscription as much as I do. Step 9. On page 12, describe your domain names, your domain name strategy, and your social media assets. Step 10. On page 14, describe the visual imagery that comes with your brand's visual identity. Does it use the cartoon type or the photographic type? Is it colorful or is it black and white? Do all your images have a blue overlay? Must there always be human faces in your imagery, or do you focus more on tech? See where I'm getting at? Also, describe any technical information about the imagery that should be used with your brand, such as the aspect ratio, the preferred file formats, and so on. And on page 15, put a visual that illustrates what you just described in text. It can be either one picture or a picture wall. So I hope that this episode gave you a clear outline on how to create your very own brand guidelines templates for the years to come. Now, I'd like to know what are the challenges that you are faced with, and also if you've ever used a brand guidelines template. Let me know in the comments, and by the way, you find the companion blog post on my website, Kaycinho.com. Now, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up as it really helps growing this channel. And if you know someone that could benefit from it, please share it now. And if you want to brand, market, and grow your business in the digital age, then make sure you subscribe and smash the notification bell so that you never miss a share of digital alchemy. And if you're interested in tips, tools, services, and case studies that can help you grow your business online, then go to kaycinho.com/newsletter and subscribe to my email newsletter. So that's it for this video, and in the next one we'll discuss about how to create a website for your business. In the meantime, don't forget to invest
In your success.